Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads, and welcome to what is not my week in books. Today is Memorial Day, and so I'm dedicating this video to the service members who've died in service to our country. And I'm also going to feature 4 books, only one of which is new to me. I featured 3 others of these on my channel before last Memorial Day. I was trying to look for some more recent books, and I did find one. But when I was doing my Google searches on books to read over Memorial Day, all I could find primarily were either books to read on a long weekend, like beach reads, or books that were about war but not necessarily targeted to the service members who fought and died for our country. These books that I will feature all feature service members, men and women, who fought for our country and in some cases died. The other thing that kind of touched me, I stumbled across this. There's a reporter I follow on Twitter. I'm trying to quit Twitter, but I haven't. It's like an addiction. I don't tweet, I just doom scroll. But there's a reporter I follow on Twitter who also served, and he said this time of year is hard for him because he remembers all the folks killed in action, but also he posted a list. There are people who may not have died on the battlefield, but brought the battle home with them and did not win the war. So he featured a list of folks who died from suicide as well. And there are other individuals who may have been injured on the battlefield, but then died later of their wounds. And I really want to think about that as well. Wounds either physical or emotional and mental. I'll get to that point a little bit later down the road. Anywho, let's get started. I highly recommend each of these books, and they touched me, and not personally as in I knew the individuals or anything like that, but they touched my heart. And the first one I want to start with is Lone Survivor by Marcus Luttrell. I have seen the movie 1,000 times, and it is one of the only movies about Afghanistan, although I know it wasn't filmed there, but whenever I watch it, I feel like I am back there. So kudos to the director of that film. If you've not read Lone Survivor, on a clear night in late June 2005, 4 U.S. Navy SEALs left their base in northern Afghanistan for the mountainous Pakistani border. Their mission was to capture or kill a notorious al-Qaeda leader known to be ensconced in a Taliban stronghold surrounded by a small but heavily armed force. Less than 24 hours later, only one of those Navy SEALs remained alive. This is the story of team leader Marcus Luttrell, the sole survivor of Operation Red Wing, and the desperate battle in the mountains that led, ultimately, to the largest loss of life in Navy SEAL history. But it is also, more than anything, the story of his teammates, who fought ferociously beside him until he was the last one left, blasted unconscious by a rocket grenade, blown over a cliff, but still armed and still breathing. Over the next 4 days, badly injured and presumed dead, Luttrell fought off 6 al-Qaeda assassins who were sent to finish him, then crawled for 7 miles through the mountains before he was taken in by a Pashtun tribe, who risked everything to protect him from the encircling Taliban killers. A 6'5" Texan, leading Petty Officer Luttrell takes us, blow by blow, through the brutal training of America's warrior elite and the relentless rites of passage, slow down, Lee, required by the Navy SEALs. He transports us to a monstrous battle fought on the desolate peaks of Afghanistan, where the beleaguered American team plummeted headlong 1,000 feet down a mountain as they fought back through flying shale and rocks. In this rich, moving chronicle of courage, honor, and patriotism, Marcus Luttrell delivers one of the most powerful narratives ever written about modern warfare, and a tribute to his teammates who made the ultimate sacrifice for their country. If you don't know, and I did not prepare properly for this, Marcus Luttrell's teammates, 3 teammates, were killed during that. I can't say it was an ambush. But also, as part of the rescue mission, a Chinook filled with SEALs and others was shot down by an RPG, and everyone aboard was killed. I did not prepare properly for this. I had to mow the yard. It kind of puts me all afluster. But that is what they refer to when it says the largest loss of life in Navy SEAL history. I'm not sure if that has been exceeded. If it has, it was another helicopter crash. But it was a very tragic day in Afghanistan and for the Navy SEAL community. So, I highly recommend that you read this and read the names of those who died. They're scattered throughout the book. He doesn't have a separate index of those. Next up is The Outpost by Jake Tapper. One thing I appreciate about Jake is that I have not checked yet, but every year he posts about the members of this unit, the fallen members of this unit. Also in Afghanistan, Combat Outpost Keating. The end of the line, the base nobody could believe had been built. And I've got to say, that's true. There was this one intel guy who was probably annoying everybody and was like, you shouldn't build there, you shouldn't build there, you shouldn't build there, and he was right. Ringed by 3 steep mountains that form a part of the vast Hindu Kush range in Afghanistan, blocked off on its northern, western, and southern sides by rivers and mountains, and a mere 14 miles from the official border with Pakistan, the camp was one of the most remote outposts in this most remote part of a country that was itself cut off from much of the rest of the world. All those who set foot at Combat Outpost Keating feared that a moment would arrive when the enemy would come for them. They knew that in such a battle they would be vastly outnumbered. They were right, by the way. They also knew that given such odds, not all of them would come home alive. At 5:58 a.m. on a morning in early October 2009, that moment arrived. In The Outpost, Jake Tapper gives us the gripping saga of a group of brave, doomed soldiers stationed at Combat Outpost Keating. Yada, yada, yada. This was, before I started tabbing and I was just dog-earing the pages, a fantastic telling of the story of Cop Keating. It's been a while since I've read it. Again, I appreciate that every year James Tapper tweets about the list of the dead and the young men, it's all men in this one, who died in service to our country. Highly recommend it. Worth the read. Well written. All of these books are easy to read. It is in the writing style. I read another non-related non-fiction book last week. It was much more difficult for me to go through than any of these books. Next up is Ashley's War, the untold story of a team of women soldiers on the Special Ops battlefield, by Gail Samak Limon. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. I can't recommend this book enough. In 2010, the U.S. Army Special Operations Command created Cultural Support Teams, a pilot program to put women on the battlefield alongside Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, and other Special Operations teams on sensitive missions in Afghanistan. The idea was that women could access places and people that had remained out of reach and could build relationships in ways that male soldiers in a conservative, traditional country could not. Though officially banned from combat, female soldiers could be attached to different teams, and Special Ops recruiting posters urged them to join the mission and become part of history. In Ashley's War, Gail Tzemach Lemmon uses exhaustive first-hand reporting and finely tuned understanding of the complexities of war to tell the story of a team of women handpicked from across the Army, Guard, and Reserve. At the center of this story is a friendship cemented by Glee, CrossFit, that cult, and the shared perils of up-close combat. At the heart of the team is the tale of a dedicated and beloved soldier, First Lieutenant Ashley White. Much as she did in her best-selling The Dressmaker of Khair Khana, Lemmon transports readers to a world they previously had no idea existed. A community of women called to serve a cause greater than themselves and bound together by danger, valor, and determination. I like to highlight this book for a couple of reasons. I recently, let me start way back in the past. When in 1996 my grandfather died, I was in college at the time and also in the Guard. For whatever reason, I went to his viewing, which was the night before his funeral, in uniform. I don't know if I'd had drill that day or what. It was so long ago, I don't remember. And as I was standing in uniform at my grandfather's viewing, a man came up to me and said, "I don't think women should be in the Army." And the fact that it still resonates with me to this day, and that's almost 30 years ago, says something. Second thing is, there are still vocal men who don't think women should be in the Army and who dismiss our service. And people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about are trying to talk about Ashley White and say she's a prime example of why women should not be in combat. They're trying to blame this incident. Spoiler alert, Ashley White died. She died when a fellow ranger stepped on a daisy-chained IED and it set off a plate that she and another soldier were standing on. Ashley did not cause that incident, which if you read this book, you'll see, but she was a victim of it. So there's this group of loudmouths on the internet that I heard about. I did not participate in this, saying that she ran into a building when she wasn't supposed to, and that they're so fucking full of shit, but that they're using her name to dismiss her service, dismiss her sacrifice, and make a cry for why women shouldn't be in combat, which they can fuck off for all I care. Anywho, Ashley's War is a great book in which you could find out that she did not cause the explosion that killed her and several others, and injured others as well. She was a victim, and even if she had caused it, it would have been on accident, just like the guy who caused it did. Ultimately, the people who caused it were the people who set the IEDs. Anywho, that's enough of a rant. This is supposed to be a dedication to Ashley White and to all who served, men and women, and who died for our country, in service to our country. Finally, I talked about that reporter that I follow on Twitter and the ways that sometimes war comes home with us. And so I'm reading The Good Soldiers by David Finkel. I did pick this up last week, specifically to read for Memorial Day weekend. And I just passed the halfway mark. And one of the things that I'm doing is I'm annotating a lot, but I'm annotating every death in here. And there were a lot from one unit. There were also quite a few Purple Hearts. But I'm also looking at the people who didn't die on the battlefield. And one example was, what got me started on this was not really that reporter's post, but a picture of an individual who had been shot in the head. His name was Michael Adam Emery, and evacuated from the battlefield. Came home, survived. He got involved with Homes for Our Troops, and they had finished. I might start crying. So he was injured in 2007. They finished with his house on October 26, 2019, and he passed away on November 23rd, 2019. I do not know if he died from complications from his injuries. He was paralyzed. I saw a video of him speaking for Homes for Our Troops. It was very sad, but that's a case when potentially people die long after they leave the battlefield, but they are still a casualty and have still sacrificed a great deal for our country. I also, there were some people, another young man who had traumatic brain injury, and I found one thing in 2008 on how he was struggling with his recovery from the TBI. His name was Lucas Sassman, but not much more. I can only hope that he is doing well somewhere. I'm going to get to the blurb on this book in a second, but there is another part that I just passed this afternoon, where a recruiter for one of the members of this unit, Sergeant Philip Cantu, committed suicide on June 3rd, 2006. He was 24 years old. He was a recruiter, but he had served before, and he only told his recruits, obviously, about the good times about his deployments and not the times that haunted him. So, I have got a lot of feelings about this book. I'm probably going to leave it to my weekend books next week because I'm not finished. It's a heartbreaking read. It was the last chance moment of the war. In January 2007, President George W. Bush announced a new strategy for Iraq. It had become known as the Surge. Among those called to carry it out were the young, optimistic Army infantry soldiers of the 216. I just had to check on something. The battalion nicknamed the Rangers. They were not U.S. Army Rangers. About to head to a vicious area of Baghdad, they decided the difference would be them. 15 months later, the soldiers returned home, forever changed. The chronicle of their tour is gripping, devastating, and deeply illuminating for anyone with an interest in human conflict. Let me be clear, because somebody in the book reviews was not clear about this. David Finkel is a reporter. He won the Pulitzer Prize not for this book, but for his reporting. I think they called it collaborative reporting. It is very powerful. His writing style is very easy to read. He may be taking a little bit of he may be taking some liberties, especially when he describes how people feel. So I'm leery of that, but it feels very real. Having been a soldier and having been around soldiers and knowing how they talk and they think, it feels very real. It is a heartbreaking read. And for this one, as I did for those last year, I am going to read out the names of the soldiers who died. I'm not finished with the book yet. So, let me just take a moment here for a second. They're all so fucking young. So when you read this book, and I do recommend that you read this book, please remember Jay Kaljamant, Sean Gajdos, Cameron Payne, Andre Craig Jr., William Crowe Jr., James Harrelson, Joel Murray, David Lane, Randall Shelton, Joshua Reeves, James Doster, Duncan Crookston, Darrell Bennett, and Patrick Miller, and many, many more. Mr. Finkel also has an asterisk. He lists the entire unit's names, and he has an asterisk by each member who was also a Purple Heart recipient. Now, I already know that at least one of these has died, albeit in 2019, possibly from his injuries, possibly not. And I have not had the chance to go through all of them to see where they are now, if I can find them. I know that the commander of the unit is no longer in the military, which is about par for the course, because most of the people who were serving in 2007 have either retired by now or are up for retirement. But again, this is a very powerful book. It really highlights the futility of war. If there was a plan, a strategic plan, maybe Finkel didn't have access to it. Maybe there wasn't one. I don't know. I was not there. But I do recommend this. And in the midst of this long weekend, by the time this post, it will be 3:30 on Memorial Day. For what's left of it, please think about those who served our country and who gave the ultimate sacrifice, either on the battlefield or after the battlefield. And know that there are some people who are still out there fighting the wars. That is it for me. Happy Memorial Day. Happy reading.